There was a toast in there, it flowed well. It didn't go on for too long. But apparently, cheers, come on everyone, here's Ross, didn't quite totally encapsulate all of the sentiments we wanted to get across. So she suggested I make it a little bit longer. In the interest of marital compromise, I went away and did what I was told. So, this second draft, it really starts by elaborating on the first, which is a real true thank you to everyone here for coming and showing in this day with us. I know for some of you it's been quite a journey, even travelling from a foreign country to be here, and others have travelled even further than England. But however, there are always those who can't be here with us today. So I'd like to make the first toast to those, to let them know, wherever they are, that we're thinking of them. So if we can raise our glasses to absent friends and family.
Absent friends and family.
Well, I hope you all like the bubbly there. Now, I only mentioned that as sorting the alcohol's about the only thing I did to my contribution to the organisation of today. The rest was Caroline, with me practising the age-old art of choosing the option that Caroline had already decided on. She would, however, like to thank some of her friends and family for the help that she's had. For example, thanks to Tina for dragging her around London dress shopping. I say dragging because we should know here, Caroline is the only woman in the whole history of the planet that hates shopping. That's right, guys, you heard me right, and I got first. Then there's Catherine in her role as bridesmaid. Duties, as far as I can tell, consist of two things. Making sure Caroline doesn't escape out the back door before the ceremony starts, and then looking beautiful in a pretty dress. Two tasks she's executed perfect. Then there's my two ushers. Firstly Dan, who accompanied me on a research trip to Edinburgh, and through a long, arduous trial and error process, we chose which beer to have on offer. And then there's my other usher, Drews, who, well, I'm not quite sure what he did, but he's here and he's in a kill. So there's many more as well, I haven't got time to mention. So this next toast is there to encapsulate them and everyone else in this room. So I'd just like to toast to our friends and our family. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
More else as the speech goes on. I'd like to take a few moments now to move on, say a few words about Caroline's parents, Anna and Chai. They made me feel welcome right from the first time that I met them for that meal we went on Bexley Heath, all the way through to hosting me for various Christmases and Easters, right up until preparing for this wedding. I remember when we first broke the news about our engagement, and as a joke, we told Anna that we wanted to hold the wedding in the family home. Instead of telling us where to go, she replied with something along the lines of, well, the marquee would fit in the garden, but I don't think we've got enough toilets. So it's that kind of patience and support that we'd like to say thank you. I think it's all part of the good We have a plant for your garden.
Thank you. And I want something please to kill that.
Actually, also, we have one for Chai as well. Thank you. So now move on to my parents. You may have escaped most of the organisation of the wedding by living 6,000 miles away.
Poor excuse.
But I have to say, I mean, you've always been there for me, and I know you've been thinking of me, and this can be shown by the fact when I was travelling in Oz, and I think I'd forgotten to phone home for a couple of weeks or so, and I received a loving text from Mum saying, "Are you still alive?" But on a serious note, I mean, you've been great parents and friends to me, so I wouldn't be where I am now without you, so thank you. And a couple of gifts coming your way.
Thank you.
Now at this point, I'd actually like to propose a special toast, because in just under a month, it's actually my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. I think this is wonderful, and it's apt to celebrate it on occasions such as this. So it's to Andy and Sheila.
Andy and Sheila.
Thank you. That's the level you got to find good when
Good luck, son.
So you've translated backwards.
Right. Now, I think I should move on to the reason we're here today. It's my wife, Caroline. So before I met Caroline, I actually never thought I'd be the sort of person who'd get married. I actually thought it was a bit of an outdated institution and a bit of a waste of money. But when you meet the right person, you know you want to spend the rest of your life with them. You can change your mind. Now, I'm quite stubborn, so it did take me a good few years to convince myself I was wrong. But eventually, I went round, I chose a ring, and I thought about finding a nice place, time and place to propose. Now, I took the ring on holiday with us to Croatia, and hoping to find the perfect spot. And I did. I found it. Beautiful sunny day. Look, we're sitting down on a patch of grass just off a remote path on the top of the cliffs, overlooking crystal clear blue lakes. Absolutely beautiful. We've been sitting there a few minutes, so I reached into the bag, got hold of the ring, and then a bunch of German tourists came. Thankfully, an hour or so later, we stopped for another break. It's in a spot that was just as romantic. And Caroline was expecting a bourbon cream, and she got a marriage proposal. So now she's here today. She's looking absolutely stunning in every part of the perfect bride. So I would like to propose a toast to the bride.
To the bride.
That's been done. So let's got a hand over to the best man.
Good luck.
Right then, I'm pretty nervous about this one. It's quite daunting sort of standing in front of a room, 80 people, but then if you find my sense of humour half as funny as my friends and family found the prospect of me in a kilt, then this is going to be Anyway, so we'll start with the kind of the proper bit, if you like. So open up with thanks and Tom. Cheers. Thank you, Tom. Tell you what, we're going to sit down and we're going to forget that happened. We'll start again. Right, anyway, so we'll start and say thank you on behalf of Dries, Caroline, sort of and the others on terrible names anyway. And agree, thanks for your kind words on their behalf. Dan Drews, obviously, is the ushers. I suppose we've got to say thanks to you boys. Some world-class pointing and I guess the next one is Caroline, of course, and it was you generally look fabulous. It's amazing. And this was a kind of a late addition to the speech. This bit was the first time I think my girlfriend Ivana had sort of seen Caroline. And straight after the ceremony, her words were, "Wow, Tom is punching above his weight."
Woo!
And then of course you forfeited any sort of compliment when I asked you what were we wearing on the day, and you said kilts. Anyway, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ross. Later on you might want to use my full name, Ross, go home, you're drunk. And then Tom and I, we met in college, we've known each other since the heady days of 1997, when the airwaves were filled with the musical stylings of Aqua, Spice Girls and Teletubbies. Thanks to Tom's CD collection for that one. Our young Michael Owen was breaking through the ranks at Liverpool, and Tom was sporting the exact same haircuts that he's and yeah, in recent years, I mean, we both kind of moved on a bit, so we've seen sort of less of each other. Tom sort of evolved into a real-life grown-up, proper job, a house, and of course getting married, which is why we're here in this wonderful venue today. And I guess I'm trying to sort of attempting to wind up a rather rambling introduction. Anyway, while I feel honoured to be Tom's best man, delighted to have been asked to play a part in your Caroline, your day, I must confess I did wonder why has he kind of asked me to be his best man. It was at that stage I thought he'd probably gambled on my memory having faded. Lucky, mate. Anyway, so I've already touched on Tom's evolution into a real-life grown-up and mentioned he's having a proper job. His job title is currently Senior Value Engineering Scientist. Me neither. Yeah. I can't help think Tom's missed his true calling in life as a town planner. Something that he's showing not only a great deal of enthusiasm for, but also considerable talent, as was on display the morning after one of our final A-levels. And the adjustments that Tom made to the North Walsham one-way system. So for those of you that aren't aware of it, the story begins in Hythe, one of Norwich's premier night spots. Hero and his associates had convened for an evening of highbrow conversation. This inevitably turned to the pedestrianisation of Norwich city centre. The debate became heated, and the security detail of the aforementioned venue probably decided that some of the party might like to continue the discussion outside. Anyway, Tom kept a clear head on this one. Kept a clear head and stumbled across a solution. So delighted with the potential resolution of this conundrum, Tom announced it would only need a few road signs, and at this stage, as a conscientious scientist in you became clear, a small-scale test. Anyway, so Tom selected North Walsham as a suitable site and then set about scouring for surplus diversion signs. Now, once they'd procured said items, they then set about to back to North Walsham, where they helpfully put cones on every available exit from the North Walsham one-way system. And that's, at the same time, helpfully offering drivers an alternative route. Now, at that stage, I can only assume that Tom wasn't really concentrating as cracks developed in this exquisite execution of the plan so far. Anyway, at the time, the protagonists hadn't noticed any potential pitfalls, and so they retired to bed, ready to return the next morning to the inevitable outpouring of goodwill from the local residents. Unfortunately, this didn't quite pan out as planned, as Tom and associates waited outside college the next morning to survey the traffic flow and see if this system had worked. Unfortunately, there was a few vehicles that went past once, twice, 3 times, one unfortunate case 4, and it was this point that the mistake was uncovered. Tom's plan quickly lost all credibility. Transpired that all he'd done was set up a diversion where, if followed correctly, you just end up doing laps around the one-way system. Now, lesser men may have been deterred by this setback. Not Tom. This was a minor hurdle. 6 short months later, Tom was back. This time focusing his energies on public transport. It was New Year's Eve 1999. Tom and I were in Sydney, and at this point in the evening we were fairly well refreshed. We found ourselves about an hour away from our hostel. Spirits were low as it dawned on us we had a bit of a trek home. Tom sensed the despondency in the group, and probably recalling the success of the North Walsham experiment, made a decision. He came to the conclusion that if he moved the bus stop, that we wouldn't have to deal with his walking business, we could just get the bus straight back. So he did. He lugged an entire temporary bus stop across a park, an estate, 2 main roads, and the final bit was through what could only be described as a fairly interesting area. Anyway, so he did that, put it outside the hostel, and then went to bed, no doubt, dreaming of the accolades he would receive the next morning. Unfortunately, the next morning came sooner than any of us had anticipated, as we were awoken to animated hostel manager, and there's children present, so I'll paraphrase this bit, wanted to know why there was a bus stop outside the front door. Tom took this in his stride, cleverly avoided the question, as the manager obviously hadn't appreciated the benefits of being on a main route for a bus. As in the case of many revolutionary ideas, resistance to the initiative prevailed, and the mastermind behind it was given until lunchtime to remove the new addition or face spending his New Year's Day finding alternative accommodation. So, confronted with such negative attitudes in their groundbreaking approach to traffic flow and public transport, I think we'd have all given up. I know I would. Not Tom. His thinking was he probably obviously hadn't found the right platform for his talents. So, following an 18-month period of soul-searching, some difficult questions, and detailed analysis of the failings of previous projects, Tom was back. Tom chose the illustrious surroundings of Sheringham Carnival, North Norfolk's second biggest carnival, for his comeback. So after the festivities of the day moved into the evening, the bell for last orders rang. We joined the herd and headed for the kebab shop, the idea being that after the disconsolacy of New Year's Eve, we'd need some sort of sustenance to provide energy for the long walk home. Probably should have checked was in Tom's kebab. Not only did it give him enough energy for the walk home, gave him the energy to remove every single road sign, bollard and banner en route. Then he still had enough energy to arrange his trip in a semi-coherent narrative on the way back to my parents. So, at the bottom of my parents' road, Tom positioned a sign inviting people to the bring and buy sale, which, if they turned right, they would be directed to. Now, Tom obviously envisioned this being a success, because he'd installed a temporary traffic island at the next junction to control the traffic flow. Anyway, so punters, having followed these signs so far, the bring and buyers, as they thought, were then greeted with the helpful information informing them that Sheringham was 1.5 miles away, and also that they were welcome at Sheringham Carnival. So far, so good. Until you walked into my parents' back garden and realised it was all a con. There was no carnival. What there was, however, was a wide selection of give-way signs, topped off with a banner from the local activity centre from Kingswood. Anyway, truth be told, I wasn't that pleased with Tom's handiwork, and gave a fairly swift, expletive-ridden assessment of the work, at which point my parents woke up. Now, my dad wasn't in a particularly appreciative mood either at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. So after following a fairly rapid U-turn on his views on swearing, and again there's children present, so I'll probably paraphrase this bit, he informed Tom that it was probably best if him and his road signs were gone fairly sharply. 8 o'clock the following morning, there was no sign of Tom or the road signs. My dad went, I wasn't really expecting him to go that early, until he walked down to the shop for his morning paper. Tom was still gone. The road signs, however, were deposited in the garden of the guest house on the corner of our road. You get a right to reply after.
I didn't come back to your house for 2.5 years after.
Anyway, so following all that, town planning's loss, I guess, is GSK's gain. So, on balance, given his lack of success with the planning thing, I'm probably pleased that he's moved on to playing with dangerous chemicals for a living. And then, the other, that's the sort of the gist of it. The other subjects I wanted to mention, and I'm aware this is sort of off limits for a wedding, a best man speech. But I don't think it would be doing Tom any justice if I didn't bring up his first love. Now, Tom met her when we were about 18. It was through a friend. Looking back on it, she was fairly promiscuous. She lived with 3 of us at one time or another, and I think there were probably, a good few more of the guys at college that took her out. She'd also earned the nickname The Bunk, which wasn't particularly complimentary. Now, she may not sound like a keeper, but I really cannot overemphasise how much Tom loved that car. And I guess it's testament to Tom as well that when the Bunk finally met its end, I'm running out of time here, so we can skip that bit.
I can really read the details.
So when I phoned Tom to tell him I'd written his car off, the first one was actually genuine concern about me, actually, apart from the car, which I was fairly surprised about at the time. And he sort of called round, sort of making sure it was all good and everything. Probably had a little cry and then got out the Ross Voodoo doll later. But he's not made me feel guilty too bad about it. Anyway, Tom
once a month.
Tom also looked out for his friends on his stag do. Now, to a bystander, it might have seemed that Cisco, Rob, Kai, and Kitch were locked out. Knowing Tom, he would have done it, with thought and thinking, they're having such a great time, they'd probably like more time to enjoy the city, or all night, as it turned out. Anyway, so I've been going on a bit, so I guess I should wrap it up. I guess, tradition suggests that I'm meant to offer some advice to Caroline and Tom. I'm probably not really qualified to do that. So we'll just leave that bit alone. Which gives me one last job, and that's if you could all stand up and join me in raising a glass to the new Mr. and Mrs. Murray. Mr. and Mrs. Murray.